Hi, I'm Rita Brewer. I've been a member of this church for approximately 61 years. As a matter of fact, I have the oldest membership in the church right now. Not the oldest member, the oldest membership. The church started long before I was born and actually started in an old school building called the Old Red Liberty Grove School Building. It was a very small congregation, and by the time I knew anything about it, it was a little wooden frame church built on this same property, kind of at the back of this building. It, as I say, was just a small square frame building. The air conditioning was open windows on both sides. There was no indoor restroom. There was an outdoor facility. The members of the church were a small group. There were approximately 25 members at that time. That church was built in 1920, and just a fun tidbit about that church was Mr. Hensley had donated 0.7 acres of property to build that church. And I'm not bragging, but my grandfather and my grandmother were very much instrumental in this church. They loved the church, my grandmother did especially. And they donated 3 acres, them and Mr. Sugart donated 3 acres to go with the 0.7 acres, and that's where our church is today. The church needed pledges, as we're doing today, and everyone had pledged, say, $25, or that's what my grandparents pledged anyway. And they told each of their 5 children that they had at that time that they were to pledge $25 also. That was a really outrageous amount of money, but because my grandfather told them to do it, they knew they should. After that program started and the church was built, well, our congregation grew a little bit, but people like the Hennigs, the Sugarts, the Harpers, the Coyles, the Schradys, those were some of the founding fathers of that church. We didn't have a regular minister. And you say, well, how did you have a church without that? We had student ministers from SMU who would come out periodically and speak. Once we gained our legs, you might say, and got a stronger budget, we were able to share a minister with Pleasant Valley Methodist Church. We would alternate Sundays. They would go there one Sunday and here one Sunday. The Sundays they were not here, Mr. Henning or another layman in our church would give the message. We had an active MYF group. I was a member of that group, and we didn't get to do mission trips and fun things like they do now, but we did meet, we did have fun together, and we did have projects, but they were just local community projects. Our church finally began to grow a little bit, and we got a full-time minister. In 1966, I believe, Kermit Van Zant became our minister in Rowlett. And he said, with the congregation the size we have, we need to be able to grow this congregation. We need to be able to grow our church. So we built the chapel that is now our chapel, which it was the sanctuary at that time. It was only the little wooden building and the chapel. We finally gained enough money that we could build our, what you call now the kitchen area or our dining hall, and that was built to be a gym to entice young people to come. The kitchen was added to be able to have family meals here. After we got those 2 buildings, then there became a need for a more classroom area as well as an office. Our pastor didn't have an office. Our associate pastor didn't have an office. We actually didn't have an associate pastor for quite some time. But Kermit Van Zant worked his miracles, and we got enough donations and enough loans that we were able to build the kitchen area or the gym area. I have 2 or 3 aunts that I can give credit for helping donate money to build the office area and the classroom area. As I'm mentioning my family members, it's not to brag, it's just simply to say that my family loved this church, and they always have. We had another need after a while to gain a minister who could help our church grow even more, and Reverend Van Zant was going to retire. Brother Burke, Ralph Burke, who many of you might remember, was a sought-after minister. He was in Howe, Texas, and we actually went to Howe, Texas to hear him minister to that church and fell in love with him. We offered him a job, went to the district and requested to have him here, and we gained Reverend Burke here. He was here for over 20 years. He helped us envision that we still needed more space. We paid off the sanctuary. The chapel as of now, we called it the sanctuary. We paid that off. The kitchen was paid off. My aunts had paid off the office and classroom area. And we began a campaign to build the church that we now have.